I'm Czarr, and I'll be your host for this guide. Guide for what? Well, dungeons. And more specifically, tanking dungeons. I'm going to walk you through the heroic versions of our current level 85 dungeons. As of right now, I'm in the version 4.2 of them. Today's dungeon is Blackrock Caverns. I'll show you how I take them. Now, I know my way isn't the only way, but it's what I've found that works for me. So without delay, let's head to the dungeon guide. Okay, here we are at Blackrock Caverns. First order of business, as any tank, any good tank at least, make sure you have your proper seal and proper order. Well, this applies for pally tanks, and also Righteous Fury, which is your threat generation. Also, don't forget to bless. Kings is what I prefer. If there's a druid, I usually do might, of course. So here's our first pull of any dungeon, is usually the easiest, of course. So what do? We shield toss. That's really plain and simple science. That grabs enough aggro on them, and they are mine, and shouldn't have to worry about losing threats. And you just pretty much go through the rotation of pressing on the buttons and taking them. Switch targets to make sure you have threat on both of them, and build on the other if you don't, obviously. Alright, we're already in the boss room. So there he is, boss, and he's surrounded by a bunch of mobs. We need to clear those guys out first for fighting that boss. So let's clear this guy out up here. And you always want to keep an eye out for what the boss is up to and where he's going. He patrols around the middle of the room, so you just want to make sure you're out of his way when he comes nearby, because having a group of mobs on you and the boss is death. So I picked the caster out of the group, and what you do with any caster is shield toss them, because that silences them, and that gives them enough time to be silenced to reach you. Then once I have everybody around me, it's Hammer of the Righteous time. And that pretty much AoEs all of them, so they all have threat on me. Simple, simple stuff. Alright, that's them. Here's the other ad group. You always want to watch out for his path, too. He's coming back this way, so I'm going to pull back and make sure I'm out of the path that he patrols in. Having him in the group with this group is probably going to kill me. And since I had to run kind of far, I lost aggro pretty quickly on ones I didn't really hit yet, so gotta make sure I taunt him back on me. Don't want anything hitting any DPS, because then they start bitching like a little girl. That's not what you want to hear. Just annoying. Always before a pull, especially before a boss pull, you want to make sure your healer has enough mana and health and all that, and he's ready to go. And this guy, you gotta make sure the area around him is clear, because he calls for help if there are any nearby mobs. So we cleared them out, which is good because that equals nothing. Now he has a couple of mechanics. One of them is Quake, and when he quakes, it'll call in adds. Another one is Wounding Strike, which does heavy damage on the tank. So if you want to pop cooldowns when you see him doing that, then by all means, that helps out the healer a lot. This is what Quake looks like, and when he quakes, he calls out a bunch of adds, Angered Earths, and usually some spawn in the ranged parts. So what I do is I like to use my shield toss to grab them. And this is Chains of WoW. What it does is it brings the whole group in front of the boss, freezes you where you stand until you break him, and then once you break him, you gotta run away, because he's going to cast his AoE spell, which is Skullcracker, and it'll basically one-shot anyone nearby him. You have about 8 seconds to break out of those Chains of WoW to get away from that. Here's Quake again, and make sure you're taunting ads, shield tossing them if you have the cooldown up. Get them off all the people, because that's just as bad. And when you have any mob fighting you as a tank, you always want to make sure that you protect your back, because you lose a lot of taking stats when you get hit from behind. So a simple way of avoiding that is to back up when you fight, because then the mobs will, by default, cone in front of you. Here's another Chains of WoW. It's usually hard with retargeting to find the Chains of WoW with all the ads up. Found it quick enough and run the hell out of it. The healer doesn't make it out quite far enough, but luckily for us, he has enough health to withstand that hit. I don't think he was close enough to take the full damage from it. So that's pretty much the first boss fight. Quake, Wounding Strike, and Chains of Woe, and then Skullcracker. Other than that, there's really, it's save your cooldowns for throwing stuff into the party. Save your Seal Tough. I can't speak. There's too many S's on this guy, I swear to God. Shield Toss. Whatever. You know what I'm saying. You've seen the fights. You just enjoy the rest of it. I'm done anyways, he's almost dead. Get those ads. It's taking a little longer than I want to because we lost somebody to Skullcracker, so gotta basically suck it up and get them all. And that's it. It's the fight. And with his death, you get to meet one of our special friends. He seems like a special friend to me. That's Raz. Who's Raz? Well, he's this guy. He's gonna go around killing mobs for you. So let him smash. There's really no point to go in there and help him fight because he's just gonna kill them all for you. And I think the little swing he does knocks you back, if I'm not mistaken. So you follow him around the rest of the boss room, let him clear out all the evolved Twilight Zealots, and he's gonna reach the bridge, and he's gonna clear that out for you too. There's, I think, 3 or 4 waves of these guys. Just sit back and relax and let him take care of them. Once he's done killing all of them, he will bail on you. Doesn't want to help you anymore, I guess. So I'm back to tanking. No big deal, that's what I'm here for. And on our way from the first boss to the second boss, we got another little simple pull here. And what do we do with simple pulls? Shield toss. No big deal. That's those two guys. There is 3 groups of people you want to pull in this room. And one of them is this guy. We seen Raz a couple seconds ago kill a bunch of these guys, but we haven't fought one of these guys yet. These guys have a spell that you want to keep an eye out for. So you want to engage him, get aggro on him. I don't think he has a cleave, so you have to worry about which way you point him. I just have a habit of pointing away from groups. And this is the ability, Shadow Strike. As soon as you see him casting that, you want to get your interrupt ready and interrupt that. I'm not entirely sure how much damage it takes away from you, but I know that interrupting it, you still take 30% damage, so I'm pretty sure you take a lot of damage. You turn around, and there's the boss, boss number 2, and her ads. And don't pull her yet, though. It looks enticing because you see her right there, but there's still some people who pat into the area where you'd be fighting. One of those happens to be a all-caster group. So what I said earlier with casters is I use Shield Toss, but mine only hits 3. So there's 4 guys here, so I'm going to use this rock as a line of sight to pull all of them near me. And here they all come, including the one I missed, who isn't silenced, and they're all nice and gathered up. So you can hammer them, and that's that. One more ad before the boss is this Twilight Zealot guy again. He is going to be an issue if you leave him alive, so you want to make sure he's dead, because he'll pat close enough to be pulled into the boss fight. That's no bueno. As the tank, sort of want to assume control if nobody has already said they're going to take a beam. Assign beams yourself. Priority is ranged healer and melee. That's for me. That's not really official. I like ranged healer melee because range is no-brainer, but melee, if they're in the beams, they can't really fight, so it's no big deal. Have the healer do some work. So I grab the boss, turn her, and settle in. This is a pretty easy fight for the tank. You only have one thing to worry about. Everybody else has to worry about everything else. Well, that's at least the people in the beams. They have to get out and get back in and all that stuff, but all you have to do is worry about interrupting. She's going to cast Dark Command, and I have yet to let one of these get by me, so I'm not sure how much damage it does. But interrupt it as soon as you see her casting it, and that's pretty much it. I mean, the rest of the fight is watching the DPS go in and out of the beams. Pretty simple for the tank. The beam mechanics, since I have a lot of time to talk because there's a lot more fight left, is you go in immediately, let your stacks hit up to at least 80. It's sort of like the toy arcades that fuck you out of tickets, and it keeps going after you stopped it, so 80 is a good point. You get out and you probably have like 84, 86 stacks because it goes by 2. Hop out. I think it's about 14 seconds it takes to drop off. I have all the paperwork in front of me, but I'm honestly too lazy to look through it. So you hop out, drop your stacks, hop back in, rinse, repeat. Pretty much the whole fight. I mean, the only reason you're failing is because somebody's not getting the beam or someone stayed in the beam too long. And if you're noticing that it's taken quite a bit to actually take her down, because we are closing on my record kill time, as DMB is pointing out for us in the right corner, it's because one of our DPS has been knocked offline, apparently. Not much you could do about it. You gotta make up for the damage yourself. So I just keep pressing my buttons, keep holding aggro, and standing there, interrupting the most important thing I am doing for this fight. Really hard to fail this fight. I mean, a lot of these dungeons you shouldn't fail any fights. I think the only dungeons you should actually fail fights is the ZACG fights. The failing of fights seems to happen the most when the DPS has to move, it seems to me. A lot of people aren't, like, accustomed to having to actually move and fight. They just want to fight, that's it. So they don't pay attention, they die, and that's, like, failed. For example, the Vortex Pinnacle, the last boss. I've seen a lot of people die because they don't move into the triangle. So that's fight, boss dead. Yeah, we win. Oh, whoops. Ran out of time. Well, I continue this guide in part 2, so go ahead and check it out if you want to finish the guide.